John Robertson founded and leads John Robertson Architects. The firm has designed and retrofitted, or repositioned, as he says, a huge amount of commercial space in central London, including some of London's notable listed buildings, including Bracken House, the home of the Financial Times, Bush House, Aldwych, Daily Express, and Great Arthur House. So I wanted to ask him how he sees the future of the central business districts in the post-COVID environment. So, John, I know there's still a lot of uncertainty as to how companies and workers will react once lockdown is over. But what do you hope the future of offices will be in city centres in a period when it's very likely that more people will be working from home for more of the time?
What I think needs to happen is I think the cities of Westminster and London really need to play their part in trying to get office workers back to work. I actually think there is, after a year of lockdown, just judging from our own small team here, we have about a quarter of our people come in at least 2 or 3 days a week. We've left the office open on a voluntary basis with strict COVID restrictions and safe working practices. But I think there's no doubt about it. I think people are going to want to work from home, and I think there's going to be what I call hybrid working is going to develop, where I think there will be a return to work, but I think it will be probably slow. I hope it'll start to return in June this year, when offices, I think, will be allowed to reopen. But I think we have to be reconciled to allowing people to work at home 2 or 3 days a week. And if I'm honest with you, I actually think that generally a lot of people would probably like to come back to the office. I think the part of the whole scenario that I think people find difficult is the commute. And I can't blame them for that. I've always felt when I was a commuter myself, it was the really worst part of the day. I was always pleased to get into the office to see colleagues and discuss projects and interact with my teams. And so I think two things have to change. The first one, I think, is in office design itself. I think to the clients we're speaking to, I tell them that for the next generation of office space has to be better than home. It has to be a place where people really want to come and spend their time, even if it's 3 days a week in the office, 2 days at home. And the second thing, I think that the great cities of Westminster, City of London and Canary Wharf, they need to do something to improve the commute. And that may be increasing mobility of people. I mean, as you know, cycling has become a huge part of the way people get to work in London. But I do wonder whether there isn't a case to create e-bike parks to allow longer commutes. People that an e-bike can, you could quite easily commute 20 to 30 miles on an e-bike. And I think there's great opportunities for these cities to really improve the way people can get to work. And then I think there's a lot of work for central business districts to do to deal with what's happened in the high street. For example, I walk along Fleet Street and Holborn, and I'm quite shocked and depressed actually at the number of closed shops. And so I don't think that can be ignored. I think the cities have to take some initiative in what can we do with these shops? Could we have pop-up fashion shows in Fleet Street, for example? There must be ways of enlivening the streets and accepting that these are difficult times, but at least making some moves. And finally, I'll probably be called a heretic for saying this. Maybe I think we're in the age of neighborhoods where people want to live and be closer to their work. Maybe, and Canary Wharf, I think, are actually being very successful and enlightened in doing this. Their Wood Wharf master plan includes a lot of residential, affordable and market sale. And I do wonder, looking at some of the quiet evenings in the city, if it's not time to at least consider more residential space in the City of London. Of offices themselves, I think it's too early to say. I certainly don't think the office is dead, but I think it will be different. I think we need to create designs that provide a destination, probably themed around hospitality, so that you feel you're going to if you leave home, you want to go and stay in a luxury hotel. If you go to an office, I think you want to you want more amenity. I think roof gardens and terraces have long been part of the idea of fresh air, the green environment, improved ventilation, whether it's mechanical ventilation, or I think the day is not far away, and certainly we're having discussions about mixed mode ventilation, where people have individual control over their windows. I think over ventilation from their windows, and I think offices will become more of a hub where, clearly, in the digital age, in the clerical age, there was piles of paper and people had to sort it out. In the digital age, a lot of back office work can be done from home. But I think a lot of creative and collaborative work, let alone business networking, really does need to happen. You can do so much on Zoom, but as even I've found over a year, I've slightly lost contact with people. I've been fortunate enough to participate in quite a few of your events at NLA, but they're really refreshing. But I do miss actually getting together with people. And lastly, I think my last thought on office space, and this is something I hear from many agents, is that there still is a demand for office space, but there's what they call the flight to quality. In other words, if someone's about to sign a lease for a big new law office or a new advertising office or something, they're going to go to the best. They're going to sign up to something that really is worthwhile. And one of the challenges, I think, that is facing landlords, and perhaps we can talk a little bit more about it in a minute, is what happens to what I call the grey space. What about the space that's left behind by these people, as these occupiers, as they move to the best in class office buildings?
What sort of projects are you seeing coming into the office at this strange time?
I have to be honest, it was quite a difficult start. The immediate reaction from some of our projects, we had about 4 or 5 projects put on hold, and that was obviously a worrying time. But we had other clients who kept the faith and kept going. And since then, out of the 5 projects that were put on hold, I think one never came back. 3 did, and 1 is still on hold. That's sort of the broad statistic. So we then sort of regrouped and were pleasantly surprised, actually, that after that immediate shock, there was quite a steady stream of inquiries, even through the first lockdown, as people found their feet. We were bidding for projects. We won some. And then we found by the end of the summer, by early autumn, when the world was hoping to open up, actually quite a lot of work came into the practice. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. In terms of the projects, I suppose I've divided them into sort of 2 groups. There's what I call the pre-COVID projects, which we're continuing to complete, projects that were committed before then. And 2 examples of what are very interesting projects have been. The first one is the Farringdon West oversight development, which we're now doing for HB Reavis. This is on the Elizabeth line. It's an oversight development over one of the biggest Crossrail interchange in London, where the Elizabeth line meets with Thameslink, and also you have the Circle and Metropolitan line go through there. So it's been an amazing project for our firm. It's been in our firm for actually 15 years. I started it for a client called Richard Harris of Cardinal Lysander, who was quite a character and very interesting to deal with. And Crossrail compulsorily purchased Cardinal Tower, which was an old Richard Seifert building, which I always called a roadblock on Farringdon Road. And HB Reavis purchased the site with planning permission, and we just completed 33 King William Street for them. And they've christened the building Bloom, and it's very much going to be, I think it's a flexible Farringdon building. It's quite large floor plates, but each floor plate is capable of subdivision into 3 or 4 tenancies. Terrific amenities, roof gardens, outdoor huts and spaces where people can learn and group, and semi-exposed services. So I think it's going to be quite an interesting building. It is fashioned in bright red terracotta, taking the cue from some of the London Underground stations. And also, I'd like to think it harmonizes with a lot of the rather nice listed warehouses and things within Saffron Hill and Hatton Garden, and of course, Clerkenwell itself. The second project, which actually ends this week, is the first fit out within 22 Bishopsgate, which we're doing for American law firm Cooley. We're working with an American interior architect called Alliance Architecture from Washington, DC. And Cooley are a very ambitious tech law firm. They act for some of the biggest names in Silicon Valley. And this really is quite an interesting, very interesting fit out of 3 floors midway up 22 Bishopsgate. So I've quite enjoyed working on 22 Bishopsgate. And as I say, this will be one of the first fit outs to complete. And we've the Cooley have taken 3 floors, and we've linked all 3 floors with an accommodation staircase, and quite interesting technology. I think you can run just about everything within the fit out on off an iPad. Turning to post-pandemic work, we have been commissioned by quite a lot of different clients and investors and landlords to retrofit quite a number of buildings in the city and in the West End. And I think the common denominator to almost all these buildings is that there are 25-year lease expiries kicking into play. So I think out of necessity, these clients are having to think about what to do with their space and how to reimagine it, remarket it. Some of them want to hit a certain price point, obviously, given the economic position that we're in. And examples are at 9 Devonshire Square for Newveen, part of the Devonshire Square development that we master planned for Blackstone. They sold it to Newveen, and they've commissioned us to rework parts of Building 9, which is one of the nice old warehouse buildings. We're doing a project for Aviva at 30 Golden Square, which was Sony's headquarters. Sony have moved elsewhere, and we're reworking that building, which is again, Golden Square remains sort of media and film industry. At West Ferry Circus, we're working for a Czech Republic investor, retrofitting an SOM building. One of the big, SOM did a big sort of Beaux-Arts terrace on West Ferry Circus, and we're reworking the entrance halls and a lot of the interiors. And then more recently, 2 projects that I'm very excited about. We have been appointed by a German fund to work on Northcliffe House, which was occupied by Freshfields. And the great thing about Northcliffe House is it is going to be JRA's 3rd rework of a former newspaper building, because it has the Daily Mail facades on Tudor Street. And there we are really, I think, testing a lot of the ideas that I was talking about earlier of what will the office space of the future look like? And the client, I think, has supported us in taking some quite brave decisions for a city office building. We're going to increase the volume. We're going to be having semi-exposed services. We're putting in ceiling rafts. We're extending it by about 10 or 12,000 feet, creating new roof terraces and roof gardens, and reimagining the interiors. And of course, with the beautiful copper light windows in the building, we're trying to give it a semi-industrial twist so that it could be, it was a law office. Who knows who the tenant will be, but again, the entrance hall, I think, will have quite a nice hospitality theme. So it'll be more Soho Place than corporate office building. So very interesting commission, and we're starting on site later in the year, and the client is very keen to deliver that building into the market late 2023. And the most recent one that we're very pleased to be involved with is a building that was the first building that JRA did in the city. In 1997, I did a building for Chris Strickland at Greycoat called One Great St. Helens. And there, the lease expired, and a European private family investor has bought the building. We were lucky enough to be invited to participate in the competition to rethink and reimagine the building. And just shortly after Christmas, we were commissioned to do it. So really busy on that side of work. We've also gained a reputation for working for clients like British Land and Derwent, doing it's almost technical advisory role. It's compliance monitoring. So I'm really enjoying working with these clients. We've been technical advisor, client advisor on 100 Liverpool Street, which is the Michael Hopkins building, helping British Land ensuring that everything meets the required quality. And we've been doing a similar exercise for Derwent, both at 80 Charlotte Street and at Soho Place, which is very exciting redevelopment on Tottenham Court Road. So yeah, we're keeping busy, but we're not complacent.
Well, John, thank you very much for telling me about what you're up to, and great to see you, and hope to see you in the flesh soon.
Yeah, well, thank you for the invitation to participate. Thank you.